need this because of that. Then why am I taking that?
You need that to compensate for that.
That's the problem, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You just start with one, and it seems they just keep multiplying. Every time you open the drawer, you get another one in there.
Yeah. This was the last meeting, it's a year ago? Is that what I'm looking at? That's what I thought, I wasn't sure, but yeah.
Everyone ready? Chairman, it's 9 a.m.
Good morning. I'd like to call the City of Bonita Springs Local Planning Agency, May 22, 2025, to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item, roll call.
Chairman Lohan.
Here.
Member Colapietro.
Here.
Member Doogie.
Here.
Member Maturo.
Here.
Member Townsend.
Here.
Member Lombardo. He asked to be excused today. And Member Tammy Hartford. She is traveling. She also asked to be excused today. We have a quorum. Did I call everyone's name? Miss any? Okay.
Thank you. Need approval, motion of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public comment. I'm going to refer to you, Mike, on this.
So you can ask if there's anyone here who wants to give a public comment, but after the staff and applicant presentations, anyone here who would like to comment will also be given that opportunity.
Okay, does anybody like to speak first on public comment? Seeing none. Review of the following comprehensive plan amendments for consistency with the City of Bonita Springs Comprehensive Plan. A, case name Tyson Ice Center Comprehensive Plan Amendment.
Good morning. Mike Fegon with Community Development. For the record, I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of what this amendment's about, and then I'll turn it over to the applicant and his agent to do their presentation. So this is for an existing piece of property, an existing building, an already developed site. It's the former Chamber of Commerce building located at 25071 Chamber of Commerce Drive. Right now, it is located within the public, semi-public future land use category, which is pretty restrictive in what you're allowed to put there. Essentially, you're allowed to put public and semi-public uses, so governmental style buildings, utility franchises, things of that sort. But the zoning that exists on the property already is more commercial in nature. So we have an issue where you have a conflict between what the zoning allows versus what the future land use designation would allow for. And also keeping in mind that along US 41 there, it's largely a commercial corridor. So this request is coming in to essentially better align a more appropriate future land use category for the property with the existing zoning. Specifically tied to this case is the advent of wanting to put in an eye center or an ophthalmology clinic, if you will. And they're going to be using the existing building, the existing parking, so on and so forth. So we're not talking about new development. We're not talking about raising the existing building and redoing the site. This is a way to essentially adaptively reuse what's already existing, but be a little bit more generous with what the parameters are, because like I said, right now it's very restrictive with what's allowed to go there. So I'm going to turn it over to Tom Slaughter with Cape Land LLC, who prepared the application on behalf of the applicant, Mark King, who owns the property. And then staff will go ahead and back clean up if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Is the clicker of the mouse
Yeah, you could use the mouse, you could use the space bar.
already? Good morning. For the record, my name is Tom Slaughter with Cape Land. I also have Mark King from Tyson Eye Centers here as well. I appreciate Mike's comment from staff. When we put this petition together, one of the things that we wanted to do was to identify, obviously, what would be prohibitions against this as opposed to what types of support. So when we looked at the property, it's currently vacant. As Mike said, the Chamber of Commerce has moved out. The proposed use is for the Eye Center. And as Mike indicated, there's a disconnect, well, not really a disconnect because at the time it made sense on Chamber of Parkway, where you have the future land use, primarily those uses kind of pocketed in that little cluster are public uses. So the zoning, though, matches what we need, which is unique because traditionally on an entitlement, you're here first for a legislative change to change your future land use map. And then we do the, let's make a deal, and we try to identify a zoning district that would then be the best to implement that. In this particular case, we already have a neighborhood commercial, which for Tyson Eye Center is the perfect fit. In developing this application, one of the unique things about it is traditionally certain approvals can be done administratively, but you cannot with your future land use map. However, this proposal is probably one of the easier you're going to have to deal with in terms of batting around the different ideas. There's no variance or site plan changes anticipated with the site or the building itself. In fact, the building is a nice building. If you've been in there internally, you've got a really good architectural design, and it's one of the gems of the city, I believe. So the fact that you're going to be able to keep some of those amenities that the chamber previously put through is a win for the community. During the process, there were a few deficiencies related to the site plan, and that's really a reflection of, under a prior code, that building was built and built to code standards. Since that time, your code has now changed. So we've got some minor but existing nonconformities that get cleaned up. They're addressed in the staff report. However, your decision is not incumbent upon that, simply because that's a staff review, and that will be handled prior to what's called a certificate of occupancy. So essentially, Mark and his team cannot move in until those improvements are made. In going through the, kind of like today, in going through the neighborhood outreach, we conducted 2 neighborhood meetings, and we're ready to throw a nice party, and nobody came, which I think is, again, a reflection because under the notification, you're hitting some of the homeowner groups that I imagine would have been involved had there been more proposals that maybe wouldn't have fit in well with the community in terms of compatibility, consistency, and really the expected use that was there prior. Because that's really what a change of a future land use map is. It's really is asking you, what has now changed that would reflect on you to change that map that was different than back then? Well, in this particular case, the Chamber of Commerce has left, and another public, semi-public use has not been proposed there. Michael indicated earlier why a rezoning is not necessary, and again, under traditional entitlement, we'd be looking at that as well. And it's simply because that neighborhood commercial is already there. The alignment of the expected use fits in really well. And again, in terms of the compatibility with the adjacent uses, there's no site design, so all your parking, your ingress, egress, even your signage, some of those issues have all been thought through. In terms of the historic context, one of the things that I thought was interesting was, it's a holdover, obviously, the chamber, but what's funny is the roadway is still is the Chamber of Commerce Boulevard, which is kind of one of those things when you do platting, and I've done a number of subdivisions where people will come up with different names, and unfortunately that's just a reflection of what was there at the time, and it's very common for small local governments to have names for such things, but unfortunately when it leaves, and I think you've seen that in some of your commercial districts where it'll still have the name of the heritage, and interesting enough, some of the businesses will still try to grasp and maintain that theme. Lastly, included in your staff report as well as our applicant report, we've identified findings of fact that we believe provide that this project is consistent and compatible with your comp plan. It's consistent with those elements that you're trying to strive for in terms of use, architectural control, and then function, and then compatible also with your neighborhood. And I think that's a reflection that nobody came to provide input. Again, when we looked at it, staff recommended approval, and with that, I'll conclude my prepared remarks. And again, we'd recommend, or we'd ask for your approval of this petition. And with that, if it is approved today, we still have 2 public hearings to do in front of City Council. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Fegan again with the city. I can go ahead and continue on, or if you just have questions, it's the board's choice.
Anybody have any questions?
Mike, I have two easy ones, I believe.
Sure.
I'm assuming that because of the land use plan, that this designation basically followed the building, right? I mean, the chamber was there and they designated it as
Correct, yes.
government, right?
Back when it was constructed in the early 90s under the Lee County Land Use Plan, that land use category made sense for what was going to be built there.
Right,
And when we became a city, we adopted the same land use plan.
and my second question is that by changing to the neighborhood commercial, and I think the gentleman already answered it, there are no variances or no special added requirements needed. This zoning does fit.
Correct.
Okay, that was all I really had. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or concerns?
Any thoughts on changing the name of the street?
I believe it's a city-maintained roadway, so I can speak to Matt.
I don't have anything.
Well, seeing no further comment, I don't see any public here with pitchforks, so I guess we can, a motion to,
I'll make a motion, we approve.
I'll second that motion.
all in favor?
I think I should take a roll call
Okay,
vote.
roll call vote.
Chairman Lohan,
Yes.
Don Colapietro,
Yes.
Dan Doogie,
Yes.
Ray Townsend,
Yes.
Jeff Maturo. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was easy. Okay, the next item, a water supply plan update to amend the City of Bonita Springs Comprehensive Plan to update the City of Bonita Springs 10-year water facilities supply work plan as required by state law.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board.
Morning.
The item before you today is basically, I believe it's a 5-year update that we do and looks out another 10 years. And the state has required this mainly so that every municipality shows that they have the water to accommodate their growth and to accommodate the current citizenry. We have worked with Bonita Springs Utilities and also Citrus Park or Bonita Terra now because they have their private water and wastewater facility to make sure that we have updated all of our information. Most of the data that you see comes from permits that both Bonita Springs Utilities and Bonita Terra hold in terms of what their capacity will be in withdrawing water from the wells, and also expansion plans that they anticipate over the next 10 years. So while this item is coming before you, unfortunately this is one of those items where there's not really a whole lot of room for debate. It's one of those things that the state has said you will do, and it's based upon the data that the utility provides. So I'm here for any questions, but this is one of those items that I will just advise you needs to go forward to the next step. So.
Anybody have any questions? This seems like it's pretty routine.
Yes, sir, it is.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, you're gonna do a roll call?
Chairman Lohan,
Yes?
Don Colapietro,
Yes.
Dan Doogie,
Yes.
Raymond Townsend,
Yes.
Jeffrey Maturo.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Before I leave the podium, I just want to make a quick statement. I think most of you found out the news. We lost a former member of this board yesterday, Mr. Rex Sims, who was instrumental not only in forming the city, but also in maintaining our policies, and on a monthly basis would spend hours questioning me from the same podium. But he will be sorely missed. He was a huge influence on this city, and I don't want to overlook this meeting without at least taking a moment to recognize what he meant both to me and also to Bonita Springs. So,
Amen.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item, I need approval of the last meeting minutes.
And that is the meeting held on May 16th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
I remember.
We don't need a roll call vote. It's all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Anyone opposed? Okay.
I'm gonna turn this over to you.
Yeah, I have a couple of announcements. So since the last meeting in May 16th, 2024, City Council has appointed Steve as chairman, and this was at Jeff's request. He asked to step down from the chairmanship because of commitments. So Steve is the chairman, as appointed by City Council. My second announcement is you should have received an email from the State Ethics Commission regarding the annual financial disclosures, the Form 1 disclosures, which are due July 1st, by July 1st. Raymond, I don't know if you've
Already did it.
you did, okay, so you filed one before. If anyone has any questions, call me, we can talk offline. I'm always here to assist everyone.
Problem that I had last year is I'm on two boards that you have to file it, and the question is, do you file one or do you file two? And I filed two, and then it got all messed up, so I'm still befuddled about.
Right, well, I hope they corrected that, because I worked with a staff person from the fire district, and we contacted the state, and we asked them to merge both of those accounts that they had, and to assign you with one number. So hopefully they've done that, and I'll check with them on that, okay?
I can check too, but it was a complete cluster.
Yeah, well, that's a state, but
Yeah,
but we want to avoid that from happening again.
Welcome to government.
And, no, I believe that was a unique situation to Steve. I think they had already merged. They were aware that you were on two boards, but they assigned you one number, and that means one form is filed. But I'll double check on that, Jeff, okay?
Form would that be?
Form-
Would that be this one for the city? Form 1?
Well, there's only one form. So when you file, your number will automatically generate and inform me that you filed for both boards. Because everyone has an ID number with the State Ethics Commission. So I'll be aware of it.
We don't ever need to maintain that number, do we?
No.
We'll never need that, right? Because I didn't
No,
write that down.
no. Okay, and again, if anyone has any questions as you're filling out the form, please give me a call, stop by. And my last announcement is at the next meeting, which we don't have a date yet, I'll keep you informed when that will be. I understand that there will potentially be a meeting in the summertime, correct?
2 this year?
At some point. 2?
You have any idea, you have any idea what month that's gonna be, or no? Okay.
Yeah, I'll keep you updated, but you will be receiving 2 agendas, and I'll tell you why. So we'll have the regular public hearing, and then immediately following that, we're going to have not on cameras, but we're going to have a Sunshine Law, Ethics Law update. So it'll just be a brief meeting just to update members on, state laws, ethics, Sunshine Law, public record requests, that type thing. And that was my final announcement.
Okay, thank you. I guess we can adjourn?
So moved.
Okay. Thank you. Shortest meeting ever.